Hey there everybody, Eric coming at you today with another chapter of my Prepare for Anything Survival Manual series. Today, we cover number 68, Stash Your Cash. Now up to this point, this book has been covering different aspects about scenarios where you'd want to have a financial plan. Maybe it's a natural disaster and all the banks are offline. Maybe it's a situation where the government's in turmoil and you need to have some money. Maybe you just want to stash your cash. Well, this book covers a bunch of different scenarios and ideas where you can stash your cash, but one of them caught my attention pretty quick. Stash it in a book. And this reads, book it. Ah, the old hollowed out book trick. Corny as it sounds, if you have a bookcase full of hardcovers, it's not hard to hide your cash amongst them. Use a sharp blade to carve out a pocket in the midst of the pages. Choose a really boring book so no one pulls it off the shelf accidentally discovers your stash. I'm going to use a hardbound book, and this is what I chose. The Clinical Practice of the Dental Hygienist. Now I'll tell you, it sounds absolutely horrible to me, but this comes with an inherent danger. It is quite possible my wife might find my stash. Now the only good thing I have going for me is, it's quite apparent she never opened this book at school. So if she didn't open it then, what's the chances of her opening it now? This thing is brandy new. And so I have a chance. So in this case, the benefit I have is that the cover sits nice and flat and open right from the get-go, giving me a beautiful surface to work off of. At this point, I have a lot of pages to go through here. About 1,000 pages anyway, till I get through this whole thing. So at this point, I'm just going to give this thing a go. I'm going to use this board as kind of like a straight edge to make some cuts. I'm going to line it up on the inside and outside, establish my cuts along the bottom and the top. And that's going to be what I use to get down through these pages. And I'll go from the top of the book all the way to the bottom using the hard cover as simply my cover, and all the pages will get cut through. Doing it with an X-Acto knife and a straight edge on this hardcover. So let's give this a try. Alright, so these pages are pretty well popping out here. There's going to be tiny little corners that are still caught, and so I need to be careful there just to trim them up so that they pop out nice and even. But it looks like I should be able to get down and through here pretty easy. So anyway, I'm going to keep working at it, trying to get these pages out of here and carve myself out nice little innards to this. So while I'm in the learning stages on how to make one of these things, I figured I might as well check and make sure my money can fit down inside. And I noticed I'm leaving myself between 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch shy of where I need this build to be able to fit. So if you look in terms of the length, my cut was too short. I had plenty of width, but not enough length. And so now I need to make my adjustment. So I went and got myself a different guide. I'm going to use this to now create the opening. So this will be my new guide and give me an edge to cut against So before I go too far, I'm just going to make this adjustment, and then I should be able to go the rest of the way. All right. So, oh baby, let's see what we got here. Oh yeah, still got some of the old cut in here. Kind of get in my way, but that's all right. That's a nice deep cut. I mean, I went down through a whole bunch of pages already. Pretty well done. In some spots it's not a complete cut, it's just kind of perforated, but that's okay. As long as I go slow, pay attention, I should be able to just clean these cuts up right to the corners and free them up, just as so. There we go. Nice. Sweet. That's a good start. All right, so here's the progress so far. Not too bad. I mean, you can see the difference in the pages here and how this is going. At this point, I kind of don't need my guide board anymore. I'm simply just using the edge of the opening to create my guide as I cut down. Now, the one thing I can tell you is this project is miserable in terms of how long this takes. Hey, you know, just stay the course. I'll just continue to go at it, and hopefully I'll get this thing done. I knew there was something missing. So much better. All right, so I've made some significant progress. You can tell by the completely ridiculous mess that this has made that I must have at least done something. And here you have it. A nicely carved out book. So at this point, I've taken my time. I've done as best a job as I can to do a real nice job cutting nice square holes all the way down through these pages. I gotta say, this process is completely ridiculous. You know, I'm honestly probably 6 hours into this thing, which is absolutely absurd, but that's what it's taken to get me down through this book. And so at this point, it's kind of time for the next stages. And just to give you an example of how big this book is, I mean, it's well over 1,100 pages. So to get down and through all this and to do a nice neat job and square it all up and get nice cuts into the corners definitely took a good amount of effort. Now, something that I want to point out to you is that while I did this, I wanted to make sure that I maintained the integrity of the book. So if you look at the outside at all these pages, it still has the look and integrity for the most part of how the book was originally before I started. You can see a couple little scraps of paper in there that are left over. I want to make sure that I clean these all out. I want this to look as authentic to a regular book as I can, and to really help me mask the fact that there's actually a vault on the inside. Now the next step for me is to seal the inside of this to get all the pages to stick together. So what I decided I would do is just cut a piece of cardboard and create kind of a mask. What I'm going to do is tape this down to make sure that I don't get adhesive all over the rest of the book. And what I decided I would use, which I think is going to be hopefully an appropriate product, is just some spray adhesive to help glue all this together. And the reason why I chose the spray adhesive, I'm hoping that it'll be wet enough to kind of saturate and penetrate into these pages, get a little bit of depth in there, and hopefully hold all of this together. Now what I realized is I probably need just a few sheets of sacrificial paper in here so that the cover doesn't get all stuck. And at the end, if I need to, I can just cut this paper right out of the way. So we'll get that set in there. Get me a couple of clamps and carefully clamp this down. So at this point, I have this glued up really nice. I mean, this has some good cover all over it on all sides. I'd taken those sacrificial pieces of paper out of here and just kind of gave myself the nice opening that I had before. And at this point, this is really starting to shape up. So I have a couple more steps that I want to take, and I'll run you through it real quick here. So I decided that I wanted to end up with a really nice finished product. And what I thought I would do is use some of this Flex Seal to coat the inside of this and leave myself with a nice sort of finished rubberized interior to this book safe. And so, you know, I've never really used this stuff. I just happen to have a can laying around and I never found a reason to use it and thought maybe this would be the time. I'm going to take some lightweight masking tape and mask off the edges here to make sure that I don't get this rubberized material on the rest of the book here. And so I'm going to get this thing prepared and coat it up, and let's see what this comes out like. Hopefully it'll work out pretty nice. Alright, so now I have it all pretty nicely coated up. There's really only one spot that's going to pose any problem for me, and that's right here. I don't even want to go near it because it's wet, but there is a little bit of a lump where I went kind of heavy with the spray. I'll probably have to do something with a razor knife or something to sort of clean that up a bit so the book will sit flush when I close it. But now I need to let this thing dry, and hopefully by the time it's dry, it's going to be ready to go. Hey, hey, hey. So what do you know? Take a look at that dental hygiene book. I don't want to read that. That just looks boring. So, here we go. The final product. And I think this came out pretty darn nice. Certainly not perfect, but that's pretty cool. So this is the final product after I hollowed out the book and glued the pages together and then used this like rubberized flex seal to make a nice little vault inside. And I think it's a pretty neat little project. Now there's really only one thing for me left to do, and that's stash my cash. You know, I started this by saying that this whole project was intended to stash my cash for a day with no banks or no real means to find my funds. But you know what? I don't think I'm really worried about that. In fact, I want to do something much more fun. Squirrel away and buy myself a custom bussy or swamp rat. Yeah, now that sounds like a good idea. So you know what? That's $1 towards it. Haha, little ways to go, huh guys? Another episode of the Prepare for Anything Survival Manual. This was number 68. Stash your cash. Alright guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.